Through the arts therapies, emotions can be brought into awareness to aid understanding of the client's needs, desires, and concerns. Greenberg suggests that it is only through accessing emotion that emotional problems can be cured, and that purely rational methods are often less likely to cure emotional distress. This 5-minute video will explore my experience of 2 creative arts therapies workshops, as well as art therapy, and how they contain and safely work with emotions. Throughout the dance therapy workshop, the facilitator managed the departures from and the returns back to the group in a considered way, which made me think of Winnicott's idea of the infant feeling held, a result of the good enough management of comings and goings in the beginning of an infant's life. As each person took a turn to make a movement in front of the group, I became focused on how I would move and less aware of the other people's movements. This reminded me of being at my family dinner table, waiting for my turn to speak without fully listening to the other members of the family. There came a part of the workshop when we were asked to work with a partner and to attune to the other through our movements. I felt witnessed and that I had been heard. My partner empathically felt what was needed at the moment. There was a parallel here with Beyond's idea of containment, the process where a caregiver might take in, process and modulate an infant's experience and then give it back in a digestible form. I felt that my anger was reflected back to me in a digestible way. My partner survived this expression of anger. This reminded me of Klein's theory of the infant developing a sense of self and other when the mother survives its attack. I found it difficult to empathise through movement. I began to feel ashamed at my inability to attune, that I may not belong in the group. My own self-critical voice had been activated. My feeling of swimming in deep water made me think how anxiety-provoking it could be for clients who feel out of their depth with dance, art, or music making. Later on in the workshop, feelings of anger began to rise. Channeling these feelings through the movement felt empowering. Each step held a monumental, earth-shattering force. Feeling that I had permission to use this space to express a potentially dangerous emotion gave me space to connect with rage. After expressing my anger through movement, I felt more confident in the space. Psychotherapist Frank spoke about how the overly pleasing client who is able to access anger becomes assertive and is able to stand up for themselves. Katanak has written about how working through an art form creates a distance from everyday reality, and it is this aesthetic distance which makes exploration of the self safe. My sweeping movements have a parallel with my artwork using smooth flowing curves. The eerie sounds I made in the music therapy workshop exist in the same inner world. I was excited to notice my own creative identity emerge. For clients with a weak sense of self, this experience could be transformative. By the end of the workshop, I had shifted from being fearful of dancing in the space and of the watchful gaze of the facilitator to someone who was at ease and happy to dance in the space. I also became more at ease with the facilitator. I noticed how my defensive feelings towards him were a transference of my own anxious, ambivalent feelings towards my mother. This shift occurred in the process of exploring myself through the creative experience. In all the arts therapies, the relationship between client and therapist is mediated through the art form. Memories of feeling intimidated and rejected in primary school were triggered by the confident group in the music therapy workshop. I noticed myself comparing the sounds that I made with other people's in the group, and this made me feel more secure. Perhaps this came from an anxious need to feel safe from danger. I realised that I wanted the facilitator's approval over the sibling rivals of the group, and so I was attempting to demonstrate musical ability. When we were invited to select an instrument, I chose a brass bell. I was attracted to its seemingly ancient form. I felt a sense of agency in my ability to make this choice. The bell became a temple treasure from a shrine in another world, rung to mark the presence of the goddess. Next, we were asked to convey the theme of the jungle at night in a short improvisation. A sense of unity develops through working together in this way, modelling a different way of relating to a group for a service user. I thought about how the instruments available in the music therapy room had a parallel with the art therapy materials. The bodily engagement with musical instruments made me think of the sensory experiences evoked by art materials. For the jungle at night theme, I chose a type of harp. The group felt that the harp wasn't appropriate. I felt helpless. After struggling to produce a more subtle and fitting sound on the harp, I found a non-verbal way of communicating my vision to the group. By repeatedly tapping one string at a time, I produced an atmospheric sound. I had found another way of being heard. This experience has parallels with my family dynamic, where I often feel that my voice is disregarded, and I wonder if I can find new creative ways to be heard. For Banham and Haig, it's through our bodies that we can express and get in touch with deep feelings, with conscious and unconscious processes to facilitate change. Finally, as a whole group, we played our instruments together. The facilitator's use of the piano to play alongside the group felt like having an emotionally attuned mind containing the group's musical expression.